It's Captain Gamester, the Gamester. It's Captain Gamester. That's me. What up, Super Fun Force? Today we're going to talk about possibly a controversial and heated topic, Tobots versus Transformers. Now, there's a lot to cover here, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple and concentrated. And I want to talk mostly about the Tobots, which represent like South Korean manhwa or animation. You know, there are other toys such as Hello Carbot, which is pretty much similar in terms of like build and scale. And then for the Transformers, I want to focus mostly on Hasbro, but we'll also look at Takara Tomy and third party. And essentially, I just want to start by saying I still enjoy both. You know, Transformers is what started me into everything that's like sci-fi, mecha, transforming. Bought a ton of them as a kid, have a bunch of the OGs still in storage. And of course, I started recently collecting a lot of the new reissues and stuff from Studio Series. But I just want to talk about what I've noticed since then. All right, so quickly saying overall, though, I want to say that my conclusion is that Tobots are generally just better. All right, and what I mean by better is what I mean is in terms of the value that you're getting and the overall fit and finish, the enjoyment, the playability, and also the accuracy. Those are the main categories, right? So just to break that down, if you're not familiar with the animation for Hello Tobots, or excuse me, Hello Carbot or Tobots, Hello Tobot, that'd be a cool like collaboration. Essentially, it's about a it started off with one series. There's three main. There's one about two young kids whose father was a genius inventor, created the Tobots, and then of course to help their sons and eventually to fight against the villains. The second one, it had it more built on characters that were using them to compete in like a sci-fi-ish future where sports cars and sports competitions were played out with the Tobots, but of course they ended up fighting villains. And my favorite one, the Galaxy Detectives, features two different characters who basically find what's called a galaxy weapon that allows them to bring these Tobots or these vehicles to life, turn them into like these sentient transforming robots that can help them fight against the supervillains, right? So with that being said, everything in the Tobot animation that you see, what they've done smart that they cannot really do with the Transformers is that they basically built everything from the ground up to match what the toy is, right? The model. So like, for example, this is like a train guy. He's part of a combiner. We'll talk about that in a second. But take this guy, Leo Kaiser, super awesome. And then also classic. These guys are both from Galaxy Detective Season 2. So everything that you see here is one for one. So like the kid, the main character, Victor in this sense, has the same exact scale of this Tobot car. So he found it like as a toy or something. And then he used the galaxy weapon, zoom, bang, biggity bow. And then it basically can now supersize. He can keep it in this form, but it can also like, you know, it can still talk and everything. But it can also supersize and transform into a gigantic Tobot. And again, everything matches perfectly. They can't basically do anything wrong. The CGI computer models are basically just the toys, right? So again, the way they designed it was to be a one-for-one accuracy. And that is great, right? For kids, even adult collectors, to be able to look and say, whoa, man, this is exactly what it would be like to have a Tobot, except obviously it won't transform into a super large robot, but you'll have it in its like scaled toy form, right? So that's really cool. Transformers, on the other hand, since it was started off like more or less as a series of like animations and stuff like that, and you know, for all kinds of budgetary and just other production issues and whatnot, you know, there's a lot of inconsistencies, right? So like, and there's also a lot of like fantasy taken into consideration, right? So they have the, like, for example, the dinosaur, you know, they have the cars and stuff like that, the original ones that were based on a Diaclone. But when they transform in the animated series, right, there's a lot of hand drawing to be done, and like that costs more money and more time. So they have to kind of like, you know, take shortcuts per se, just have things transform super quick. They show a little bit of like step-by-step breakdowns, but perhaps not all of it is actually physically or engineered to be physically possible at all times, right? Without considering like what the actual toy would need to do. So that's, you know, that's both a plus and a minus, right? So I'm not really faulting them for that, but that's something just to keep in mind when you take a look at a Transformer. And if you look at the original animated cartoons, right, it's not gonna, you know, always look the part or transform the part. And that's kind of why we've had all these different variations of Transformers, which to me can be a little bit, you know, redundant. So with that being said, I want to kind of compare prices, because the Tobots, when you import them and you get them from like, let's say Amazon or something, from their US releases, because you can, you know, import them for more, you know, from South Korea. But if you get the current releases that are available through, you know, the Young Toys website and Amazon, you're paying around like $40 to $50 for one of these guys, which again is totally worth it because the scale, if you see any of my video reviews, right, You get tremendous amount of value in terms of like the scale, the fit and finish, the plastic, the glossiness, and they pay a lot of attention to detail. So there's not a lot of like hollowed parts. A lot of it is super solid. They use a lot of like metal pegs and stuff like that. I mean, even the details for the wheels, you'll see they have like the metal pins right there. Like the tires have writing on it. Just everything is phenomenal, right? But when you look at like a transformer, so like for example, I had the Jazz Studio Series one. I just couldn't get over the fact that the Jazz had these, as you can see, okay, let's take a look at this one. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but they usually put like mushroom pegs for the wheels, right, on the outside. So I don't know if my hot rod shows it here. So hot rod is the one rare exception. So let's bring hot rod into the mix. One of my favorites, right? So when you think about it, right, is that like you're paying like $60 for Grimlock, and of course prices can go higher to get this class of a transformer. So in comparison, it's a little bit, I'd say, equal in value to some degree, and that's totally fine. And if all the transformers were released on this scale with this amount of attention to detail and less hollowing. Now, again, there were things that bothered me here. So, for example, I had to, buy this third-party thing right here to cover that up, right? And you can see right there, like there's all, like look at all that hollowing right there. You don't have to do that here, right? Like they either just integrate it to where you don't really pay attention to it. Like the only thing would be the hollowing of the arms like this, but you don't have it so generally easy to see, right? Like obviously the Tobots aren't perfect. Neither are the Hello Car bots, but for the most part, everything hides really well. The very minimal hollowing is barely noticeable. And again, it's worth to see that overall the size, the quality is impressive, and the presence. So these are even a little bit cheaper than Grimlock and that class, and that's what you have to pay. You have to pay like probably like $10 to $20 more on average than a Tobot to get this kind of scale. Now if you look here, this is where the value starts to really go bad, because like this scale here, I believe this is Voyager, is basically almost like $30. Now again, prices could vary because of like sales and things like that, but on average, like retail, this was like $30, even the Jazz. Now you could probably get them around like $20 now, so that's not bad. But even then, it's like for half the price, like this is barely even like half the, this is even a better comparison. It's barely even half the robot. I'd say it's almost like a third. So it's like these should only be value-wise maybe $10 to $15 at most. They should definitely not be $20 or higher. So that's my only main issue with that. Now, the cool thing is obviously they come with more like accessories and things like that. But even like, so for example, here, when I talked about my review on this hot rod, overall, I'm really happy with it. And I think it's a great addition as far as being something that is like, movie accurate. But the one issue that I have is like this, and this again, this is more of like a, I guess like a taste or subjective view as always, right? But like the one issue that I'm having is that when you look at the way they started to do the detailing on these guys, like it starts to be a little bit too much. I mean, they should be clean and blocky. That's how they were drawn in the original G1, G2, and then even into the animated movie. Nowadays, the Netflix and stuff, they're trying to give it all the more gritty details, like circuitry, whatever. But it's making them to look like they just have like problems, like they're breaking down or something like that. Like with I always say this, the Dinobots look fine because they're creatures and stuff. But with these more humanoid and vehicle guys, I like the simple, like just clean, and then there's only a certain amount of details without like overdoing it, like they put like cool claw marks here. Like this looks like a transformer. This looks awesome. Look at the clean, the plastic is like shiny and sheen. And look at the detailing, all the paint apps. And it's like, it has a nice blocky look, but good enough details to where it doesn't just look like shapes, right? But the original Transformers look great because they had a clean aesthetic that was blocky and shaped. Instead, like now they're giving it all this like weird random circuitry, like I don't even know. And like the other problem is like, look at this hot rod. When I see this hot rod overall, I'm like, cool, this looks like hot rod from the movie. But I have to kind of like not focus on it that much, because then I start to see, why are there these like weird like grooves again and stuff, and this hollowness back here? what are all these like random lines? Because in the animation, it's like, it's supposed to be just flat and looks clean, you know? And then like, same thing here, like in the waist area. And then it's like, look at the way they did the transformation. Like, this is horrible. Like, this is, to me, no excuse for like a foot. Like, how is this, like, even, how does that even look good? You know what I mean? Like, how does that even look good at all? And then just like the weird like pegging, like the way that this folds. So like, I got all this like sprue marks on here, and then like on this right side, these are like two of them like this. They don't close really well. They don't like lock in. I had to like heat treat this and soak it in warm water to get it to even close like this good. You know, the right or the left side here is fine. It's a little bit better, but it doesn't like, I don't know, it doesn't like click into place. It doesn't feel like it has the right authority. This one though, like you can see, it's like, you know, it's just that gap right there. Hold on, let's show you here. See, like if I just push it, it should snap into place and stay, but it's like the gap is, you know, it's unfortunate. So anyways, there's that. And then like the wheels, I guess the wheels on this are okay. But let's take a look again. What were the wheels like in here? 1 second. I can fold out this wheel. Yeah, so they got lucky with this wheel because they hide it halfway, but just like, look at that. It's just a black piece of plastic on a mushroom pig. You guys can see it that well. Yeah, see? So, you know, and again, it's like, ugh, like what is this? You know, like compared to this. Super solid, like super solid. Even has these extra wheels down here, but this is basically like what you're going to see with most of the Tobots, you know. It's just wow. And then one other thing I want to say is like in this price range, in this category, right, like Grimlock is fine, you know. Again, I had some issues with Grimlock because if you can see from my video, like they gave him a weird gap tooth, so you had to like buy the third party. So like that's another problem. It's like, how do you give Grimlock like no front teeth? It looks like he got his teeth knocked out, so I had to buy new teeth for Grimlock. But they got the color application on this right, so I was like, cool. And then so with this, I was so upset that I bought this for like $20. I think they're still trying to sell this for $20. Are you kidding me? You know what $20 can get you? At least like maybe a little bit more. This is on the scale to like a Tobot Mini or a Hello Carbot Mini. They have kind of like two versions. They have, Hello Carbot has these little ones that usually go for like $10 in like little boxes, which might even be a little bit smaller than this. The Tobot Minis, they can be up like $17 to maybe almost like $30 somewhat. So this one here, I bought this guy. This was a mini. So this one's like, I bought this for $27. You know, around the price range when it was out. Now it might be a little bit more. It's getting rarer. But like, this is the price comparison you're getting for like $20. You know what I mean? To like there's like another version of this guy for $17 that I'm considering getting because I like this character so much. And it's gonna blow this away for $20. This thing doesn't even transform. You literally just fold off the back and pull this off, and it's like, oh, that's supposed to be RC. You know, and you can't even transform it properly. Sorry to rant, but like I said, I'm always positive about what I review and what I like, but I need to be critical when it's important. So this, when you transform this from the mini one, it's night and day. Like it makes the mini one for $17 as of this video look like this compared to like this, and it's even probably on a better scale and built better than this hot rod. But again, I'm not gonna knock this hot rod too much. You know, like I said, I showed you what's wrong with the feet and everything, but I still like hot rods, so that's cool. But like, this is what Hasbro's pumping out essentially. You know, I do have the blur. Like I said, you can see my other videos, some of the other ones I had, Cyclonus. But again, I'm having too many issues with the Hasbro releases when you can get stuff like this. Now, this is more of a display piece, I'll say though. This isn't without its faults, right? Because this is a scaled down version, this one is supposed to be ginormous, you know, and you're getting really, really a cheap version that has like little hollowing on the plastic there. The arm can kind of fall off. It doesn't really have that much posability. That's the only weakness for Tobots overall, is that the Tobots, you know, even with the full ones, you know, they're not the most like posable friendly, right? Like this one's still pretty decent, you know, but again, for what you're getting in terms of transformation and what it looks like, the presence, the quality, the build and everything like that, it's way worth it. And what's also really fun is if you watch my videos too, the transformations are quite balanced. They're, some of them are easier, some of them are a little bit more tricky, but because obviously the target audience is for kids, but it's still engaging and you'll enjoy it. These transformers, I respect the fact that they are a little bit more complicated, especially when you get to Masterpiece, but the problem is like you get garbage like this, and then you get stuff that this can get a little bit frustrating, even on something that's not supposed to be super complex, where it's like it's a little bit harder to fold in, and then it doesn't doesn't even fully close or anything like that. So but I do respect the posability for sure. Transformers are great in that regard. You got waist movement and all that stuff. So I know there's a lot to engineer into these guys, but I mean, even if you look back at the original G1s, how they were more metal, and how they definitely had, I guess, a better feel of quality, that's pretty much lost here. So I think what I really would like to see with Hasbro is give us a better balance, because especially if they're raising the prices, give us a cleaner design, better quality control, and just better value for our money. You know what I mean? And it's it's kind of weird. There's these holes right here, but yeah, like I said, the hot rod's not terrible. It's not terrible. It's definitely not like this RC. And then lastly, what I want to say though is, to really get the good Transformers, this is on a different level now, right? It's going to cost you 2 to 3 times, sometimes way more, hundreds of dollars to get the Masterpiece ones. Now the Masterpiece ones, like this one here, is probably what, $150 when it's brand new, and then now you're seeing a total difference in terms of quality. There's metal. The transformations can be kind of frustrating, right, as they get more detailed. But man, look at the final finished product. It looks amazing, and it's just now at the level of the Tobots though, but you're paying a lot more. But of course it's worth it, because while they're not as big as these Tobots, they're you're paying for more metal, you're paying for the engineering, and hopefully overall better quality and paint. So obviously there's also probably been issues there, but this is where it's at. The only thing is, this is hard to sustain in terms of buying them all. You're going to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars, right, to get all the masterpieces. So that's not what this video is about, because I'm obviously picking and choosing my favorites. And then the last thing is third party. So again, to get to the Tobot level, these would probably cost $50 to $150. I bought this a little bit more. I think the retail was $50, which is great compared to this, because now you're getting the same scale and quality, but you're getting a little bit of the third party shenanigans. It's not always gonna have the best QC and stuff like that. It's not official. But now this probably goes for $150 to $200 or something like that, just because they don't, they don't make them and stuff like that. But this again is a perfect example of what Hasbro should be doing. The detailing is perfect on this. It's not overdone. There's a lot of the same blockiness and reminiscent cleanliness of the animation. And this is just phenomenal. It obviously isn't perfect in terms of replicating Springer 100%. Should be the character of Springer. You have to get the decal separately. I had to 3D print these gray platforms here and switch the feet around, because otherwise the feet would be yellow. And then even now mine, kind of the tab here doesn't really stay so well, as you can see on the feet, but at least the feet are solid. The feet are solid here. They can pivot and stuff, but they're solid. They feel great. They're not this just weird little skis. It looks like a lot of the Hasbro Transformers are on skis, but this thing is it's a chunky piece of, robotic foot. So that's awesome, right? Just like the Tobots, right? You got chunky feet, robot feet, mecha feet. Obviously this guy is a little bit in the, less chunky, but still it's solid pieces there. It's not little rinky-dink, I don't know, super thin, heels or whatever. But yeah, so there's also other third parties, Fans Toys and things like that. I think they make some pretty great stuff, but just way too expensive, and I want to stick with as much official release as I can. So this is really the only third party that I own. I've glossed over a lot of Fans Toy stuff. I've seen it. It's fantastic. Just not worth the money to me, and at the same time they're not really fun to transform. They're more shelf pieces, they're more like transformable statues. I mean, they pose great, and they do transform, but like it's not something that you're gonna want to take out and transform every day, right? Like even this one's still tricky for me, but like I'll bring these out. I'll do daily transformation videos within minutes. You know, even the combiner stuff. And when you get the combiners, they still have a decent scale. Look at that. These ones don't fully transform, right? But for like the retail of like 60, 70 bucks, you're going to get all of this to transform and combine into one guy. That's the way Tobots do it. They don't do the individual transformations, right? They just do the combiner status. So like, again, you're going to have to own the separate ones of these that actually transform into the full Tobots. But there you guys go. That's my take on Transformers versus Tobots. So story-wise, though, it's obviously completely different levels. You know, the Transformers, when you get to the movie, original series, a lot of the anime, like Victory and stuff that never came out here, it has obviously more of a teenager to young adult kind of vibe and tone to it, and that's great. You know, the characters themselves are very, you know, unique and personality driven. They're obviously aliens. The Tobots have more of like, you know, general cartoon personalities. They do have distinct flavor to them, which is great. But it's not like super story driven on them themselves. It's more about the pilots, the humans. And, you know, the first Tobot series had a great story between the two brothers, family, friendships, and obviously aimed at younger audiences. But like I always say, it's good to be able to watch shows like that because there's too much like, you know, seriousness and like dark stuff out there. So I want to make sure I counterbalance it with stuff that's just fun, you know, and positive, and that is reminiscent of what we've lost in America. We don't have cartoons and barely any, you know, sitcoms that capture the best positive aspects of the cartoons that we had in the 80s and 90s, as well as the sitcoms, right? So Tobots recaptures the fun, the positivity, and the good lessons and stuff like that, good versus evil, from the 80s and the 90s. So story-wise, they're both have their pros and cons, and they're both fantastic. I have no complaints. When it comes down to the actual toys, however, like I said, I think Tobots are more consistent right now. With Transformers, whatever is being released by Hasbro, as far as the mainstream, is very hit or miss. You know, the Grimlock I think is great. You know, I let the like the Blur and the Hot Rod pass. You know, Cyclonus is decent. Even the Galvatron I didn't pick up though, but looks good. But for me, I'm just being very selective and getting the Masterpiece stuff. I think this, you know, from the animated movie standpoint, for many reasons, this Springer is the best. The other ones are still pretty cool. It'd be hard pressed for them to, I hope, you know, if they release a if they release a Masterpiece of Springer, I wouldn't be surprised if it's very similar to this one from Unique Toys at this point. And I think that's kind of why Takara Tomy is not shutting down to third parties, is because they let the third parties release some of the Transformers first. And then I think that, you know, from my opinion, I'll always look at the Masterpieces as being better versions of like whatever third party fans toys, or, you know, Unique Toys or X Transbots, whatever, any of those that come out first, especially, I think that the Takara Tomy Masterpieces, they one up them. And if they come up with something first and that other third parties make, sometimes the third party ones are a little bit better, but I've still always preferred what's come out of Takara Tomy. And of course, it's like I want to be true to the originals. I don't really want to support the third parties so much. If you're like a super fan, like a super toy collector, and you got to get them all, you know, Pokemon style, then that's fine. You know, like if your favorite character is Springer and you're like, yo, I'm gonna get all the different versions of mostly all of them, and then get the whatever third parties, then that's cool. But anyways, that's just my insight, guys. Whatever you're collecting, it's all good. You know, I just want to, you know, make this video especially to hopefully let collectors know, if you've always been into Transformers and that's always been your thing, I want to say give Tobots a try. Even if the cartoons are a little bit too young audience, you know, aimed. I'm sure if you look at the actual like toys themselves and the transformations, I'm sure you'll find a few that you'll like. You know, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that would be into Tobots that also wouldn't eventually want to get some Transformers. But I also just want to say that I hope Hasbro steps up their game, gives us better transforming toys at, you know, at a better value on a more consistent level. And that way we don't always have to get Masterpiece, right? So there should be a good balance between these two, right? So I think that, for example, that was achieved with the Grimlock, because for me, I don't even need the Masterpiece Grimlock. It's larger and bigger, but this one is just the cartoon color accuracy and everything, and just this scale is I'm totally fine with. It still works with, like, you know, the Masterpiece RC. Because if you look at the cartoons, again, this is where it's not consistent. But there's cartoons where he's in dinosaur mode and he's like the same size as like Rodimus, and like, you know, he can, you know, Springer can transform into a helicopter and carry him. So this scale actually even looks fine, you know. And even with the Ultra Magnus MP, you know, this right here is totally fine. This is a good value to grab this one, and then to have the Masterpiece version, which I have, of Hot Rod. And I think that's fine. If they release Transformers like on this scale as a mainstream, and then they give us the Masterpiece versions, I'll be happy, you know, and just try to skip out on this like nonsense, please, you know. Unless you're, you know, creating the toy brand ones, like for just kids only, like those whatever Cyberverse ones, which sometimes they release good stuff. So I just want more consistency with Hasbro, essentially, is what I'm saying, you know. So there you guys go. So again, it's all good. I still think they're all fantastic. You know, I'm a Transformers fan always and forever. I think Tobots is a nice way to continue the tradition from the original ones, and to just as a transforming toy, spaceship, cars, trains, vehicles, and stuff like that. It's a good way to expand your collection at a good value. And then, you know, there's obviously good Transformers to still pick and choose from. So there you guys go. All right, man. So thanks so much for liking and subscribing, guys. Continue to do so. Help support this channel so I can bring you guys some more cool stuff. Again, plenty of Tobots, Transformers, other retro toys on the way every Monday. And more importantly than anything else, please keep your faith in God, say a prayer, spread the love, be positive, be thankful, guys. And Captain Game Send the Super Fun Force. Yo, we'll be coming back at you. Peace.